welcome back to Disrupt TV. I'm Natasha. I'm here with Kaia from
Hi.
Keyboardio. You're a hardware CEO and co-founder, and you're making this extremely interesting-looking bespoke keyboard. So, and it's made of wood, right? Tell us about your idea here.
Absolutely. So we took sort of an approach of making a keyboard using sort of from scratch design principles, and so we're trying to make it so that it works the way your hands work. It's ergonomic, laid out in a way that's very natural to type on, and we're very inspired by people like Ray and Charles Eames and like people who make guitars and musical instruments. So we wanted to make it out of materials that would last, and so made out of hardwood maple as well.
What was the spark for the idea? What was were you typing on your keyboard one day and you got really frustrated? You got RSI. Why did you?
My co-founder, that's much better.
It's helpful.
Has suffered from cubital tunnel syndrome, which is a form of RSI, for most of his career. He's been a programmer, and for me personally, I haven't had bad RSI, but it's always been something where you look at something you use every day that is so fundamental to how most of us work when you work at a computer. And it was something that you saw, like phones were getting so much better designed, and all of these other things in my life, I was starting to expect better design, more humane design, and the keyboards were something that I felt like there really hadn't been any innovation, despite it not being a perfectly designed product.
So what would you say is your key innovation here? And I think you've been working on this for about 2.5 years?
It started out as a hobby project, and then we incorporated about 18 months ago. And the two key innovations, I think, are one is the overall design being something that's more ergonomic, more comfortable to type on for longer, which is really important when you're someone where the keyboard is the tool you're using to get stuff done. And then the other key innovation, I think, is in our approach to the firmware. So we've built the firmware, it's Arduino compatible, you can reprogram it. So you could have the keyboard, for example, light up red when you're in a root terminal, or you can have the background lights designs do different things. It's a great way to sort of dip your toes into embedded programming for people who haven't done that before. And it's also a great way for people to really customize, any key can be bound to a custom macro or set up the layout however you want, really making the tool your own.
So this is for those guys who really love the keyboard shortcuts, right? They love to really spec it out, super customized.
Yeah.
Tell me about the function keys as well. It's got these interesting function keys on the front, I think. What are these for?
Sure. So function keys, it's basically like another shift layer. So you can hold down the function key, and if you type HJKL, it puts the arrow keys right under your right hand on the home row. It can also, it's basically just gives you another 64 keys worth of keys and combinations that you can do.
Wow. So what's been the biggest challenge so far building this? Because hardware startups are often very hard. There's lots of considerations. What's been keeping you awake at night?
It's a lot of it just the logistics of getting things made. We luckily have gotten past the point. We did a Kickstarter earlier this summer. The first worry when you're making a product like this is someone going to want it? And it turns out the answer is yes, lots of people do want it. So the thing that mostly keeps me up now is worrying about, there's so many little things that have to work together in concert. So many different people are involved in the actual physical production of hardware, and making sure that everything coordinates and works well and is up to the quality standards that we expect.
So, and I gather you've also been in a hardware accelerator. So talk to me a bit about how's that experience been? How helpful has that been to sort of getting the business off the ground?
Sure. So we were in Highway 1, which is a hardware accelerator run by PCH. And it was really helpful for us. Both of us had done startups before, we'd run businesses before, and we're reasonably good at tech, but neither of us had done hardware. And having people who have been on the ground, who've earned their battle scars actually making hardware, being able there to answer a question when you have it is just tremendously helpful. I would definitely recommend an accelerator type experience for the community, for anyone doing a similar type of startup.
Now you've done a Kickstarter, a crowdfunding campaign for this.
Yes.
What else is left to do development-wise, and when are you hoping to ship it?
Sure. So we're making a number of changes to the design between this version and the version that we're shipping. We managed to get about 1,000 or so people this summer putting their hands on it, and we learned some things about the design that, some of the keys are a little hard to reach for some people. So we're redoing little bits of that. And then we're doing our diligence on our manufacturing partners. We're hoping to make our final selection either end of this week or early next week, and we're hoping to ship out in April of 2016.
And is it a locally manufacturing partner in the US, or are you looking further afield?
We're mostly looking in Taiwan, actually. There's a lot of, back when people made keyboards that were very high quality back in the 80s, Taiwan is where everybody made their electronics, and a lot of the most experienced keyboard makers are still there. So our leading candidates are in Taiwan, but we've been talking to people in the US as well as China and other places too.
So I guess people are going to want to know what the price tag for this sort of keyboard is going to be.
Yeah, so it's $329, and it's designed to last for many years and help you be more productive. So
cool, excellent. Can you get different colors? Is it always different wood stains, or?
So we're giving people the option. You can get it unstained and stain it yourself if you like, or right now we're just offering it in maple as a wood stain. We did have a special mahogany version just for the Kickstarter, but those are all going to be made by hand in the US, and so they're a special edition.
Amazing. So what's next after this?
It's hard to say. Definitely we've been looking at, as you do this, you start to think a lot about input devices and how people interact with their computers, and we've thought about travel editions, we've thought about incorporating pointing devices or working on a mouse. Right now we're mostly laser focused on actually getting this out the door before we go too much further down the roadmap, but
Great
we're
stuff.
excited to do it.
Well, lovely to speak to you, Kaia. Best of luck, and I think
Thank
we
you.
can go backstage to an interview with Vinod Khosla.